Welcome back to the lab. Back onto the Gloria today. The Gloria Super Deluxe. Big words like that are cool for the Japanese, no doubt. So anyway, we've got a bit to do in the back end here for this new Ford 9-inch diff that's going in here. We want to make sure everything's kosher. And I think I forewarned you earlier on about something I could see over in this area. And it was all covered up in silicon. I thought there might be some rust behind there. Well, I mean, there may have been rust at one point in time, but there really isn't now. Someone's been in there, and I'm not going to use the word fixed, because this is most definitely not fixed. This is bird shit. So I don't know who did all this work, but this is the epitome of, dude, just leave it to the professionals. Like, seriously. It's angle grinder into the chassis in more than one spot. Okay, maybe one serious one and a couple of light ones, but still, hey, if you've got a welder out, you fix the big cut you just put in the chassis. Like, it's the it doesn't get any worse than that, really. That's the worst welding you can possibly do. Not everyone's perfect. It's not always easy to do a perfect job. Maybe it was in a rush. Maybe, I don't know who did it. Maybe it was the owner of the car and he was trying to save himself some money. Maybe it was a professional who put the apprentice on it and ripped the guy off, because you just cannot charge people money for doing that. That's pretty like, I'm struggling not to use bad language that I shouldn't really use on my channel, because that's the quality of the work we're looking at. What you just saw, it gets worse. So we come to the, sorry about the camera going everywhere, we come to the inside of the car. Here's our seatbelt for one of the rear passengers, and here's a whole heap of MIG wire that's punched through the hole. That's MIG wire right there, and it's gone through the seatbelt hoop. Now, based on the hole that you've got right there, they didn't even take the interior out of the car while they were busy doing the debauchery on the other side. Not impressed. Whoever did it, far out, man. So the other side is, to be fair, a little bit nicer. Looks like maybe it might have been TIG welded, maybe gas welded. I don't know, but it doesn't look as bad as this side here anyway. Like I say, I don't know who did it. I'm not having to go at anyone directly, because I don't know who did it. I don't want to know. And if you do know who did it, don't post up. It's not name and shame, but far out. So it's just something to be aware of, eh? When you're having cars worked on, or you're working on cars, it's know your limits. Like, you guys see all the stuff that I do. I don't think I'm God. I have limits. People have come to me with things and said, hey, can you do this? And I've said, no, let's not. You want to go to so-and-so, he'll sort it out for you, or she'll sort it out for you, or whatever. So, enough of that. That's my rant for today. That's just awesome, eh? So I've got to chop all that out and do it again, because I can't leave that there knowing that's there. That's rubbish. And if the certifier finds that that's there and I've tried to cover it up, that ruins my reputation, and I'm not doing that for anyone. So that's gonna, I don't know what I'll do to fix that just yet. It's probably going to involve a plate over the top of all of this. Cut all that out, fix it up properly, and plate over the top. Replace this shonky chewing gum welding thing. There's actually a big hole in behind here that goes directly into the boot. So the only reason why I actually ground this area off was we need to recess the end of this crush tube into the chassis rail a little bit, so that we have enough clearance for our bigger wheels and tyres we want to run. Of course, I had to grind this area back, found this piece here, and then it just, oh yeah, look at this, look what we've got. Thankfully the driver's side is significantly better. I'm not sure if that's been TIG welded. I can't see any evidence of MIG wire anywhere, so it's almost like two different people did it. This side's a lot nicer, still a bit average in places, but a lot nicer than the other side. And then, excusing, then I'll just shift the light on the inside. I've given that a bit of a wire buff, but you can still see there's some debauchery going on. Why have we got a hole through, right through the outside? It's a good way to let water in, let things rust, which is exactly what had happened, and I'd had to buff this back a little bit. This side's, you know, if I weld in that little hole, put some sealant on it and primer and everything, that's probably okay. The other side, look at that mess. And the biggest concern is that's a seatbelt mounting point right there, right next to it. So if anyone ever picked up on that for a warrant of fitness or a cert, it's just not going to pass. So you're going to have dodgy rubbish like that right next to a seatbelt mounting point on the chassis for the vehicle. In mine, we'll tidy that up. So thinking is, at this point in time, seeing as there's actually quite a bit to do on it, I'm going to leave it alone, because wait till we've got our diff and we've got our new wheels that are going to go in the back, and then if there's any tweaking that needs to be done to fit the new wheels, we can do that at the same time. If I go ahead and repair all that stuff now, then get the diff and the wheels and go to bottom and they don't fit, guess what, I'm doing a job twice, and we don't have the time or the money to be doing things like that double time. So I'll get on with something else. I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do next. Alright, so with the rear wheel arch solution being put off until a little bit later on, till we've got our diff and our wheels, like I say, to make sure everything's going to fit there without some mods. We could do those mods while we're repairing it, you see. Next thing that I can do in the general area, actually very close too, because we were literally working here, we can work here. This area has to be sealed, and I use that term a little bit loosely, has to be sealed off from the fuel tank and everything, because we've done some let's call them modifications to the fuel system. We've added a fuel pump and filter and some lines and a surge tank in the boot area of the car. We now have to seal the boot off from the cockpit area, or the cabin might be another term for it. Basically, it's not, it kind of is to stop fire, but I think the general gist of it is to prevent the splash of fluids, etc., from that area into this area. So say someone manages to hit the back of the vehicle hard enough that they've absolutely stoved it right in and damaged the fuel tank and all that, you're not going to get a big gush of burning liquid into the cabin compartment. You'll never stop actual fire from this area into the cabin anyway. You'd really struggle with that, because there's things like speakers. Flames will just go through that in a matter of seconds, and flames will travel up through the inside of your pillars and all that sort of carry on. So I don't think they're trying to stop that. I think what they're trying to do is that initial thing where we don't have burning fluids coming in here, and then you can get out of the car and you're not on fire while that's happening. So traditionally most people will just use aluminium panel. A couple of ways to do it on this one, because these areas are raised up here to give it some strength. That makes it a little bit harder than what it could be otherwise to seal it properly, or at least try to seal it. So you could put one big panel and try and deal with this issue here and this issue here, or do what I'm thinking I'm going to do on this one, because it won't take terribly long. Just cut out whatever it is, 5 different pieces, or it's more than 5, 6 pieces, and just fill in this area here, because that's a nice flat piece there. Same deal there, all of them are nice and flat, and you can get a good seal easily, no dramas at all. By good I mean relatively airtight, not 100% completely watertight obviously, but that's, like I say, I don't think that's what they're after. Alright, let's do that. I've already got a roll of paper there, sitting there, so we make some paper templates of what we want. Hopefully it's all symmetrical. That piece will be the same as that piece, that'll be the same as that. That's such a tiny little bit, that'll be easy. I might just pop rivet that onto the face. I've scratched off all, rotary wire brushed all the excessive glue, and it was like carpet underlay stuck right across here, so I've taken all that off. So we'll paint that when we've got our aluminium pieces made up for it, before we put those on for the last time. The noise you hear is rain. First decent rain we've had in a very long time, so a lot of people will be really happy about that. Okay, so just a quick look. Dum, dum, dum. Ta-da! That's a start. So obviously I haven't done the piece down the bottom yet. That'll do. It's fireproof-ish, and obviously that's needs a few more rivets than that. Stop the rattles. Either that or just cover it up with sound dampening material of some description. What's the Dynamat? That's the brand I'm thinking of. Something like that. The bottom piece here, I'm going to have to put some sort of grommet arrangement just over here where these cables come through, and there's actually more stuff that needs to go through there anyway. There's a couple other bits and bobs we need to deal with. So that's not bad progress for the amount of time that's gone into that. So pretty happy with that. Hopefully the owner's happy with the general look of it. Not that you're going to see it anyway, it's behind a seat, so that will do for that. Alrighty, I'll go find something else to do. So what I was talking about was what I'm going to be doing next, and that's a pretty good clue. Linked G4 Plus Extreme ECU to control the engine, and a couple other bits and pieces actually, fuel pump and dash and some things. I think we talked about that earlier. Great piece of gear. They're upgrading the whole lineup actually. They're now going G4X. Hadn't quite got to the Extreme yet. That came with our engine package and all that sort of carry on. So unless I drag my heels extensively, there's very little chance that we're going to upgrade that to the X. We'll just use the G4 Plus, which is still a great unit. What else we got here? Some 30 amp relays for doing various different things, turning on ignition and ECU relay and all that sort of carry on. 2 PWM relays, pulse width modulation, so it's seen a little burst of electricity every now and then. It's multiple times per second, and that controls the speed of something like a fuel pump or the electric motor that's going to run the mechanical speedo on the dash. Some brackets to hold the relays, many brackets. We won't need those, hopefully, not all of them. And there's also a link ECU inlet air temperature sensor. So we've already got one in the manifold. You might be able to see that. Let me know if you can't. That's too bad. Just above the thermostat there, there's a sensor in there in the inlet manifold. That's post intercooler, and we'll chuck another one in here somewhere. It could actually be either side, wouldn't matter. Probably better to put it in the middle just in case one side's getting hotter air than the other side. So I got that far, and I was like, right, let's figure out where we're going to put our ECU. A lot of Nissans have them in the passenger footwell area, which is here. So on the other side, obviously, you don't put it in the mudguard wheel arch area. So cleaned up the inside, getting ready to do that. Have to take all the sealant and everything away so that you can weld your little brackets and all that sort of carry on. As soon as I started chomping into the sealant, yeehaw, big patch of rust. So I've just fabricated a new piece to be stitched in there, so I've got to get on with that. It's actually a real nuisance. It's nicer if you weld it from the inside, but it's actually a real hard spot to get to from the inside. So I'll do it from the outside. And I did take a couple of photos of it, but excuse the mess. That's basically what was in that corner. So it wasn't the best. I ground out some of it, and then I was like, you know what, I'm chopping that whole piece out. So hey, 1969 Nissan, not too bad for rust. We had a lot in that front right corner of that front chassis rail. Not as much in the left hand side, and everywhere else has been not too bad. So that's right, we'll accept it. Alright, that came out pretty good. Not bad. So
could have been better. A little bit hard to get in the corner here just because of where it is and the angles and everything. Same deal down there, quite hard to weld behind that. So that will do. Take a couple of photos of that for the LVVTA guys, or repair cert engineer if we end up having to go down that path. A couple of pictures of everything before it's fiddled with in any way, shape or form. Welding, you've got to leave it raw so they can see exactly what you've done before you put any paint on or try and tidy it up or anything like that. So we've got a little bit of, what do we got here? CRC zinc it, galvanic rust protection, ta-da! And then a little bit of quick coat just to make it black. That'll of course get covered with some under seal of some description later on down the track, but might as well get that done now just in case I forget about it and it starts rusting up or something like that. Just like that. Beautiful. So it needs some sealant on it. In there, along there, up that seam. Stop the water getting in and doing exactly the same thing as what it did last time. Interestingly, the driver's side is actually perfectly fine. We'll go over there and look at that. Even with the paint chipped off in that area, it's mint, whereas the passenger side was stuck. I have grave concerns for what's hiding behind that. This does not look very good at all, but we'll have a look later and see what we're up against. Same on this side. It could be that it's just ugly sealant on there. If it's original factory stuff, it's years old, it's probably dried and cracked and probably got moisture in behind it, so. Okay, so update on the air intake system. Link ECU air intake temperature sensor, nicely tucked away underneath there, right there in front of my finger. So obviously we can hide the wiring and keep that all nice and tidy. That's about what's happening with the air filters. We're not using those particular ones. The customer wants something that's all black, so no chrome, no red element, etc. So I believe Aeroflow do some of those, so that's one option. Pretty pricey unless someone can hook us up, hint hint. Otherwise K&N do some like sock style things that go over this to stop sand and stuff going on the filters, and they would work as well. They're all black and not too badly priced either. By the time you buy some cheap filters and put the K&N socks over the top, it's cheaper than buying the Aeroflow filters to start with, I believe. And then if you need to replace filters, they're only cheap as chips. So that's that. I need to sort out a radiator very shortly. You'll see there's a bit of room there, but you don't want the radiator hard up against the intake pipes. It's not ideal for keeping things cool, but we can sort something out. And then probably put the radiator cap right in the middle there, or otherwise have a separate header tank, like most late model cars tend to do that these days. So that's one potential option, although we do want to try and keep the engine bay nice, clean, tidy. I'd like to try and put a header tank down out of the way in that area, perhaps. So I was talking about with the filters directly underneath those two filters there's room for windscreen washer reservoir and radiator header tank, pretty much same as what they do on a Z32 300ZX. That would work nice. And then really there wouldn't be much else in the engine bay. There'd be some brake hoses, the hinges for the bonnet, I can't think of much else. Radiator, power steering pump reservoir. That's about it. Wouldn't be a heck of a lot else in there, so to keep it all nice, clean, tidy. And we're going to do some covers over the coils and everything, so we want to keep it all looking nice and slick. It's hot. Right, so if you're enjoying what you're seeing, please like, share, subscribe, and the more activity you put on the video, apparently, the better it'll do, the more people will see it. So if you want to make comments, that's fine. I try to answer them if they're questions. Like, share, subscribe, and all that sort of carry on, and I will see you next time.